Nobody can take away the light of God in you. Nobody can take that away from you because it's always flowing when you're connected. You don't have to protect yourself. You're automatically protected when you're connected.
2, 1, 0.
Hello and welcome to Stellar Life Podcast. This is your host Orion. Today we're going to talk about healing through your mind, healing through God. And meet my guest today. The more I asked about physical healing, the more it took me back to the concept that healing is something that is more energetic. And even though there is a time and place for supplements, exercising, regular procedures, medical procedures, in essence, we are a part of God. Just like a wave is a part of the ocean and a ray of light is a part of the sun. And therefore, when we connect to this energy, we can heal ourselves and we can manifest a lot in our lives. Dr. Kirby Hotchner is a physician of 40 years and a spiritual healing minister dedicated to helping people awaken to their true identity and learn what true healing is, which is always of the mind. Dr. Hotchner creates programs that teach people how to achieve optimal health, focusing on spiritual healing. In this episode, we discuss the nature of suffering, how to break through the illusion and surrender to God so you can experience healing physically, mentally, emotionally, and live your best life ever. And now, without further ado, on to the show. Hi, Dr. Hotchner, and welcome to Stellar Life Podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure to be here with you today, Ryan.
Can you share a bit about your origin story and how did you become the healer, the guide, and the very, multi-layered doctor that you are today?
Well, first of all, I'm not the healer. We're just the channels to which the healing energy comes. But it's been a process, like for all of us, awakening, probably starting when I was 16 years old, actually. My mom actually had a book on yoga by a yoga master. And I read the whole book, like in one day. And immediately, the next day, I just knew that I wanted to do yoga, started meditating, changed my diet. I became a certified yoga and meditation instructor in college. I used to teach classes on that. I got involved with some spiritual groups to help me, to share some of that information. Starting in like 6th grade, I knew I wanted to become a doctor. I had a science teacher that inspired me. But I knew I always wanted to practice a different way of medicine, a more holistic way. So I met a homeopath that helped me. And after I finished medical school, my internship, I spent a year with him studying homeopathy. And over the last, it's been like 42 years now, I've just along the way been guided, to learn different things. I try to learn, as you know, as my patient, try to learn new things all the time. I keep my mind completely open to be guided by spirit to what it is that I need to learn so I can share that with my patients. But the true focus and the true awakening is the awakening in spirit, the awakening of our conscious to truth, to God in us, right? And that's been both a personal thing. I've had many experiences. One of the greatest ones was back like 30 years ago when I actually had a book materialize in my home from a mystic that I had never heard about. His name was Joel Goldsmith, and he had passed. He had made his transition in the 1960s, and I read his book, and it changed my life. And Joel spent his whole life dedicated to helping people, teaching them these basic principles that we can take into our conscious and practice and set ourselves free from all the hypnotic beliefs of this world. So I started practicing these 3 principles. Within a very short time, a lot of the issues that I had left, right? Just opening consciousness up to truth, right? And then it's been a progressive unfoldment, like it is for all of us, right? Our consciousness is constantly unfolding and awakening to God, which is our reality. But that has to be a conscious process, right? Each one of us has to take the time to open our consciousness every day in this world to that which is our divine reality, spirit. Because if we don't do that, all the hypnotic universal beliefs of this world, which we're born into, they come into our mind all day long, right? They're hypnotizing our mind. They're tempting us to believe in a reality that's not God's. Of course, there is no such thing. But the mind then is full of shadows and false beliefs and dreams and illusions, right? The dream world, right? Just like the dream world at night, the dream world of the daytime is no different. It's made of the same substance, right? So as our consciousness opens to the light, to God, to truth, right? The mind becomes more and more awakened and illumined to that which we are. Only in the light do the shadows start disappearing, right? If we're looking for the answers out there in the shadows, good luck. You're not going to find them, right? Because you don't find solutions in the dark. The solutions are already within us, inside us in the light. So I teach everybody how to connect that divine presence, how to consciously open to that, and to rest in that spirit, in that presence, and bear witness to what it's doing in your life. That's the most important thing I've learned that I share with everybody. Right? And everybody's thinking, oh, it's about doing 1,000 things, taking 1,000 supplements, changing your diet, and exercising. Those things are great. I'm not saying they're not great. But if your consciousness doesn't open to truth, none of that is going to bring permanent healing into your life. Only the realization of God brings permanent healing and awakening to truth.
Can you go deeper into the illusions? How can we make the difference between what's real and what's an illusion?
So that's pretty easy, right? So when we're born into this world, every one of us is born into this mesmeric, hypnotic matrix, right? That's filling our world with sights, sounds, smells that are created out of mental substance, universal beliefs, right? The only reality is God's creation, right? The kingdom of God. There's nothing outside of that. And there is nothing besides that that's different. So for millions of years, we've had this universal dream that we keep coming back into, right, over and over again, which we've accepted as our reality. Beliefs in weather, beliefs in germs, medical beliefs, theological beliefs, physical beliefs, material beliefs. None of them are true. None of them have anything to do with our reality, but they're accepted as being real. And we've accepted them out of ignorance, right? So they act upon us because that which we accept and believe affects us, right? So the great revelation that Joel had, that mystic, was these are just universal beliefs in two powers, good and evil. They're not personal. They have nothing to do with you and me. They have to do with universal, impersonal beliefs. So he would always say, and this was his first principle, to impersonalize everything that's coming into your mind from this world. This isn't mine. If I'm feeling anxious, that anxiety is not mine. That didn't come from within, from God. That came from this world. So he teach you, and it's what I teach my patients, not to react. Practice being indifferent, cold, stone, steel, indifferent to the appearances of this world, non-reactive, right? Don't put any attention on that which isn't real or a shadow or dark. Don't fight it. As Jesus said, don't resist the appearances of evil. Don't raise your sword and fight with them. Don't try to change them. Don't try to overcome them. Don't try to do anything to them. Because when you put your focus and energy on that which isn't real, you're going to magnify its effect, and it's going to affect you more. So that which isn't of God has no power over us other than the belief we've given to it. Now we have to turn within and open our consciousness to God within us. God manifests for each of us as our individual soul, mind, consciousness, the life that flows through us, and the substance of our being. Our real being is made of God. We're given a spiritual body, perfect health, made out of Him, out of spirit, that's eternal and it's immortal, that we're asleep to. So if we don't open to it, if we don't connect with it in our consciousness, all we're going to feel are the shadows and the illusions and accept them as the real world. So now when we go within to connect with spirit, we're coming in empty. No thoughts, no feelings or beliefs of our own. We drop all those universal beliefs. We're coming just to experience our oneness with God. No other desire in our heart, just to experience God. And now we're open, we're receptive, and we can witness and bear witness. Behold what God's doing. And let Him pray, and let Him meditate, and let Him heal through us. We're not doing it. The outer self doesn't know how to do that. We're allowing that within us, the divine, the Christ, child of God, to pray and meditate through us. And that's what brings the miracles and the transformation to our life. We have to make those periods of contact every day. I tell people to start with 2 minutes, 3 times a day. First thing when you get up, midday, before you go to bed. Make that contact. You're not going there to heal anything. You're not going there to ask for anything. You're going there to experience that which you are. The fullness of God is flowing infinitely through all of us all the time. That infinite light and love and peace and joy, and miracles and grace. We already have it. We are the kingdom of God, but we're not connected. It's like opening up the water valve or plugging in to the light, and then it flows. You got to plug in. We have to connect. Be still and forget all the other thoughts in your mind. It doesn't matter. Let them be. You don't have to do anything with them. They're not yours. They're not real. Let them be. Right? Just bring yourself back to that desire to experience God. And that Spirit of God in you, Holy Spirit, whatever you want to call it, it will help you make that connection. Make it nice and strong so you'll feel it every day more and more. You'll feel a wisdom and a strength flowing for you that'll guide you. It'll speak through you. It'll heal through you. It'll bless through you. It'll forgive through you. Whatever it is you need. Right. It's already flowing through you, but it has to come out into the visible through your consciousness for you to experience it. Right? Even abundance, it's inside in the invisible, in God. It's not out there. It's flowing from within to without.
Right. Wow. I mean, as you were speaking, I had so many questions pop in, and then like, where am I going to take this? This is very interesting. Maybe start with who or what is your definition of God?
God can't be defined. Anything you think you say or know about God, drop it, because it's not God. I think it's in Hebrew. They say that God that can be described is not God. Only God is God, and it has to be experienced. God's an experience. It's a personal experience inside of each one of us with our reality, and it's going to manifest in each of us in a different way. So we have to go within to be fed, led, and awakened by God within us. So let go of all religious definitions. The closest I could say was the holy word back the Jews, they would say, is the I am. The sacred word in the temples was the I am, that I am. The experience that Moses had with the burning bush. The I am that I am. Right, that's the name of God. It wasn't allowed to be pronounced except once a year in the Temple of Solomon by the high priest. So that I am presence that we are is our divine reality. It's the individual expression of God in us. But God is not to be studied or analyzed. He's to be experienced as our very self.
Yeah, it seems like in some circles it's not even cool to say the word God. I hear a lot of interviews, and I've done it too, like, do you believe in God or the Holy Spirit or Source? It's almost like there is a little bit of shame around the word God, just to get everyone included.
A lot of people today have been turned off by the religious concepts of God, and rightly so, because religion is twisted and manipulated to their own use and benefit, that word God, so they can control the people and control their way to God. So whatever people feel comfortable with, Creator, Source, divine light, divine wisdom, Buddha, mind, Christ, it doesn't matter. Forget the words. It's about having the experience.
We need the words, we hold on to those words so that we have to have a definition.
I know, but that's part of the problem. That's part of the problem. Joel would call it the infinite invisible field out of which everything arises.
I love that.
That's why he called it the infinite way, the infinite invisible that's flowing through us all the time, out of which everything arises.
So in your practice, how do you combine God within your practice? You do so many different type of medicine you practice.
I always start with that first.
Yes, let's do that.
I always tell people that's your priority, right? The first and most important thing you're going to do is make that connection with spirit every day. And if you don't do that, forget everything else. You'll feel better physically, but you will not change in your conscious or permanent healing or permanent awakening by eating lettuce or taking a supplement or exercising. Right? Those are great things. I teach everybody how to optimize their diet, how to optimize their biochemistry, right? How to take the optimal supplements, how to exercise, and we should do all those things. I think they're great things to do, but they're secondary to the awakening in spirit, right? That's always primary. It's always my focus. You know that.
Yeah. So how do we optimize our bodies?
First, you have to, the body, so the spiritual body, that's the real self, it's made out of God. It's made out of spirit. It's made out of light. And only in consciousness can that be realized. It's already perfect. It's already whole. And it's your only reality. That body doesn't need to be changed or fixed or healed. It needs to be awakened to. Everything else is a misperception that you've been taught by somebody of who you think you are. Right? So that people forget those misperceptions. We're not here to change the physical body. We're here to awaken to the divine body, the divine health, the perfect health that our Father gave us, right? The other things are to give us a temporary boost, like a crutch, a temporary help, so we can feel a little bit better while we're awakening to spirit. So eating better, exercising, taking the supplements can make you feel temporarily better, give you a sense of temporary well-being, but that can be taken away by anything in this world really quickly, right? If we're not awakening to spirit. Right? That's why I say that's not enough. So I see many patients that come in and they're eating great diets and they're taking their supplements and they're doing their intermittent fasting and they're exercising and they don't feel good. They're not feeling good. And they're getting worse because they're missing the spiritual component, which nobody's sharing with them. That's the key. And I know everybody wants to focus just on the physical body and losing a few pounds and all that, but they got their focus backwards. You always put your focus on spirit first. And as the divine light, that grace and all that flows through you, that which is projected outwardly will correspond to that which you realize inwardly. Because everything out here is coming out of consciousness. But your consciousness has been distorted by the beliefs you've accepted in your mind. So if you want to change, you can't change. We're not here to change this world. We're here to awaken from the false perceptions we have in our mind and let that which is real be projected. Right, so it's like the sun or the moon reflecting the light and we'll see it in an image. So what you see here is an image. It's a reflection either of the misperceptions you're holding in your consciousness or your awakening to your divine reality. You have to choose what you want to experience. Do you want to experience that which you really are? Or do you want to continue to experience an illusion? No matter how beautiful the illusion is, it doesn't compare anywhere to who you really are. Nowhere near the reality, the divine reality of who you are. And everybody that's had that near-death experience and has come back will tell you what it's like. The incredible connection, oneness, unity, peace, joy, love that they feel when they're out of that sense of being in the physical body. It's indescribable. And only through meditation, which is the royal road that all the mystics have taught, can we start bringing about that awakening in our consciousness, right? Every single initiate school or mystical school always taught meditation, right? And communion with the divine.
Right. What type of meditations do you do, and what do you recommend?
Meditation is not visualization. It's not active thinking, our thoughts, or any of that stuff. It's what I said exactly. It's opening our consciousness with that one intention, experiencing God, being still, open, and receptive, allowing Spirit to pray and meditate through you. Father, speak. Your child, I'm listening. I'm open. That's what you'll always say. Father, speak. I'm listening. I'm open. And now the deepest meditation and prayer is the prayer of silence. No words, no thoughts, just holding your heart open to God and letting God move through you and meditate through you. That's the deepest meditation. Everything else is not meditation. It's a contemplation or a visualization. And that's working on the mental plane. You're not going to rise to the spiritual plane by doing thoughts. That can prepare the table for meditation. But meditation is done in communion in your heart with God. You're surrendered in the silence, just open to God. Forgetting about the world, the other thoughts, just with that desire to experience oneness.
When you do muscle testing on your patients, do you hear a voice in your head? Do you have a knowing? How does it...
So I connect with Spirit. First thing I do silently, connect with Spirit, Holy Spirit, open so that I can be guided to what is the right thing. And when I'm muscle testing, I'm just asking Spirit or Jesus, what is it that we need to remove all the obstacles to our awakening and show us what we need to do to make the most perfect protocol, both for prevention and for healing. It'll guide me to what is the best thing. So I'm tuning into that divine intelligence. Just like Jesus said in the Course in Miracles, ask me, even to the smallest little thing, that you need in your day, and I will tell you what is the best thing for you. Consult with me, then consult with him. What does this person need? I don't tell that to most people. Just what does this person need? What are the best supplements? What's the best diet? What's the best therapy? What do they need? And I just listen to whatever comes through. I don't always understand it, but it's always the right thing for the person. We get out of the way. We got to get out of the way.
Yes. And also, with my experience with you, you always learn new things. Like you always evolve. There is a saying that there is a doctor with 20 years of experience, but it's actually he's repeating the same year over and over again for 20 years. And your case is very different because you keep evolving.
Every week I'm learning new things, leaving the things behind that aren't working as well, trying to learn better ways of doing everything, being open to Spirit, allowing Spirit to guide me to better ways to do the things right. And bringing the right people into my life that can teach me, or the right book, or the right course, right? Because there's so much out there and you could get lost in everything. So guide me to what I need to learn right now. And patients will see, even if they come back 6 months later, that everything's different.
Yes.
We're doing it a different way, a different test, and testing's in a better way. Because Spirit is infinite, and it's always revealing itself in a deeper, more infinite way. So we'll never stop learning. None of us, ever, even if we're not on the side of the veil. We'll continuously go to deeper and deeper layers of awareness of God. The wisdom that flows will take us deeper and deeper into that wisdom. Right? So it's a never-ending process that we continuously open to. So it's not supposed to ever end. Plus, we have all the benefits now these days of all the new technologies, testing, supplements, so many things that are coming out that just weren't available even 5 years ago. They just weren't.
That's so true. And it's going to get more and more evolved. It's just like, it's really fast. It seems like a lot of the new modalities are around sound frequency and light therapies.
Well, they started discovering that frequency and using energy is a lot of times a quicker way healing the body than using crude things like a vitamin. They all have their place. I focus on the spirit, on the energy, and the vibration. I do. Because I think that that's what significantly changes people's systems really quickly.
What did you learn recently that was mind-boggling or life-changing?
Well, a lot of things, but the latest thing I've been looking into is there's a doctor in California, PhD psychiatrist, Dr. Goodenow, who has developed over 30 years of patented technology for testing with one tube of blood, hundreds of biomarkers in the blood, where you can look at deviations from optimal patterns when a person's young. And through simple lifestyle changes, diet, and supplements, we can restore their biochemistry back to optimal. Right? And these are tests that nobody else is looking at. He's got the most sophisticated laboratory in the world, and many of these markers nobody else has studied over hundreds of thousands of samples over many, many years. So I just finished his doctor's training, and it's sort of mind-blowing, the things that are known by research scientists that we're not taught in medical school, or the medical don't have a clue about.
Like what?
Well, just a simple example, that doctors don't have any clue what cholesterol means, or cholesterol metabolism, or what are optimal values, or what's going on in the system. What's it telling us? There's all kinds of simple biochemical things we can look at. And traditional medicine is giving us the opposite bad information for what we need to do. They're saying high cholesterol is bad when the higher cholesterol is actually beneficial and people live longer and they live healthier. And it's a marker for overall good health. And suppressing it with a statin or something at the low levels increases your risk of death, all-cause mortality, cardiovascular mortality, and all kinds of chronic issues. So that's just one example of many. We're not taught in medical school at all what optimal markers look like in biochemistry. We're not taught to do anything except use a drug or surgery to treat an effect and to diagnose disease. The focus needs to be on optimizing health and keeping the person in good health, and not on focusing on the disease and just getting rid of a disease with a drug. I'm not saying that drugs aren't sometimes necessary. They are, right, for band-aid situations and serious emergencies. But for healing, they have no place in chronic diseases. They don't bring healing, and they just make people sicker and cause more side effects.
Do you get criticized by other doctors in your field?
I don't pay attention to that. I used to teach in medical school, and I would get that all the time from the other professors there. It's why I left after 15 years, because they would always criticizing me for the way I looked at things. I've never cared what other people think. I always care about my patients and their well-being and their health and teaching them what they need to do. That's all that's important to me, as you know. I'm not here to stroke another doctor's ego or to go with the status quo or any of that kind of stuff. I'm here to learn what I need and what my patients need to optimize their health and to teach them that. My patients know that.
Yes.
So we're going to look at things in a very different way than you would if you were to go to a traditional doctor. And we spend a lot of time with our patients, right? We'll spend 40, 50 minutes for a follow-up visit where the regular doctor is spending 5 to 7 minutes. You can't do anything in 5 to 7 minutes. That's not possible.
Right, it's not possible. Do you think that in the future, like looking at all the new blood tests with all the thousands of markers, do you think the doctors are going to use AI to figure that out or to help it?
Yes, those doctors that are open-minded, I think we'll be able to use computer technology to interpret some of these things that we know, so we can get we don't have to do it by hand each time, analyze it by hand to get the results quicker, so we don't have to spend so much time. I was just having that conversation today with the person that's going over the scans. Yeah, it's going to get to that point. It will. And more doctors, as they get the information, will be trained in techniques like this. Right? Because many doctors are getting disenchanted with the way they practice. Because they keep seeing the same person over and over with the same problem, because nobody ever heals in regular medicine. They don't get better. They're just palliating the symptoms. We want to actually see the people get better, get them off their drugs when possible, and obviously have less and less dependence on these things they have to take.
Right. People are very addicted to their drugs. Like you take a drug and you have to take it for the rest of your life. Have you healed till you took people off of drugs?
You have to have a lot of experience to know what you're doing. And you have to judiciously wean people off. Certain medications have to be weaned off of because it's dangerous to stop them. So I never pull anybody off anything until they're ready, till we fix the underlying issues and the person's better. And we start weaning it down. Certain medications are going to write off of that just aren't necessary, that are harmful. Right, but that's where your clinical experience, has to come in. You can't just yank a person off of certain cardiac medicines or psychiatric medicines. They have to be weaned down when it's appropriate in the appropriate way. So I find people a lot of times are weaned too fast off psychiatric medicines, and that causes a problem, or off heart medicines. So you got to have a lot of experience to know what you're doing. I don't recommend anybody ever doing that for themselves.
Yes, of course. Do you believe that chronic issues that doctors say they will never be cured, can be cured? Is there a cure for everything?
Of course.
How so?
If that which is disease is not your divine reality, right, and your divine reality is always whole, and of course spirit can wake us up from that, then of course everything can be healed. It won't necessarily be healed for everybody, because not everybody's willing to do the things they need to do to be healed. But it's certainly within the realms of possibility. It's been happening. Every single disease under the sun, whatever you call it, has been healed by some people, meaning that it certainly is possible. But each case is a unique case. What is the person willing to do? Are you willing to do what you need to do spiritually to awaken? Are you willing to do some of the things like change your diet and let go of some of the drugs? Not everybody's willing to do that. If they're so attached to their beliefs and the way they're doing things, or they're getting secondary gains by somebody taking care of them, they're not willing to make those changes. We cannot do for the other person. We can't eat for them. We can't meditate for them. We can help them. We can love them. We can support them. But that only goes so far if the person is resistant to making the change. So each of us have a responsibility for ourselves to do some of these things.
What is the nature of suffering? Like, why do we suffer?
We suffer because we're ignorant to our divine reality. Buddha had that great revelation. He spent 30 years wandering from the time he left the palace to the time he had his illumination, going from master to master, trying to find the answer to suffering and disease. And he couldn't. He didn't find it until he fell asleep under the Bodhi tree, had his illumination. And then they asked him, what is it now that you know that you didn't know before? He said, now I'm awake. I'm awake from the dream. I realized I was dreaming, like the illusion. I was asleep. And the source of all suffering is being attached to the dream, ignorance to who our divine reality, not being awake in spirit to truth. Right? So when you're attached to that which isn't real, it's a shadow, a dream, or an illusion, you're holding on to it. That's the source of the suffering. Because now you're attached to something that isn't of God. And anything in this world can come into your mind when you're not connected. A tragedy, an accident, a disease, a relationship, disaster, right? Those are the things of this world, right, that come in when we're not connected. Joel would always say, when you're connected, when you're open, to spirit, and you're practicing these principles, 90 to 95% of the garbage coming in from the world as it touches your conscious will not affect you. It'll be dissolved as it touches the light of your consciousness. It's not going to be 100% in this world. Even Jesus sweat blood and was in fear the last night in the Garden of Gethsemane. So we're not looking for it to be 100%. But as you connect with spirit, 80, 90% will not touch you, and the other that comes into your conscious will be met very quickly with your conscious as you just connect a little bit longer. That's been my experience over and over and over again.
So not being in that level that you are at, and being in the illusion and being affected by the world and tragedies and political turmoils and all that. Like, how do you do it? You say, I connect to God, and still it seems so hard to not get sucked into.
It doesn't mean you don't have compassion for people that are still in ignorance and not practicing. It deepens your compassion. Father, forgive them for their ignorance. They know not what they do. Open their eyes through grace to spirit so they can be awakened and remember. But again, it's up to the person to practice it. Peace comes one by one, individually, as we open to the peace of God in us. And then it radiates through you, that love, that peace, that joy, everywhere, to everyone that's open. And as we do this in mass, which is what's happening on the planet now, more and more people are waking, more and more people are connecting and opening. That critical mass is building up to where it gets to maybe 1%, like the 100th monkey, and then the whole morphogenic field explodes and everybody starts waking up. We're getting very close. We're in the last throes on the planet now of the shadows, the evil, trying to make its last attempt, which is what went on with COVID. It failed. Of course it's going to fail. It's not part of God's plan. God's plan is for every one of his children to awaken and remember. And the government's on his shoulders, not anybody on the earth. And peace is only the peace of God realized in each of us that's shared with each other. You will not find it in treaties or bombs or weapons or any of the things out there in the world. Those have never brought peace to any country.
No.
The more people that realize that, and they come together, connecting with God at the table to talk and share, the more we'll have true peace. That's the only way.
You mentioned the 100th monkey. Can you explain that concept for people who don't know?
That's the story where in the Australian islands, all these islands that are separated, a monkey started washing the fruit for the first time. And another monkey saw him and started doing it too. And by the time it got to the 100th monkey, and all the other monkeys everywhere, all the other islands started washing the fruit too. right? That's called the 100th monkey effect. The morphogenic field of consciousness exploded. It's like crystals. When crystals crystallize, when it happens in enough places, enough laboratories, it'll happen in all the laboratories around the world independently. So when it's like they did an experiment once with transcendental meditation. I don't know if you remember that. You might be too young. In the 1970s, I think it was, where they got 1% of the planet to meditate. And on that one day, when everyone was meditating across the whole planet, crime decreased, hospital admissions decreased, right? Because everybody's meditating. Conscious 1% of the population needs to have their conscious open to God. And then it'll take place everywhere. We're getting close.
You see a lot of people awakening and you see it spreading, but I also see a lot of people in suffering and deep suffering.
As the light intensifies and conscious on the planet, that which in us, which we're holding on to, the shadow and resisting, will make us suffer more because we're holding on and it's dragging us back into the shadow. And if we're not embracing the light, you're going to feel it more. Absolutely going to feel it more. More suffering, more pain. And a lot of people are still holding on to that. The old ways, the old institutions, the shadows, and it's just going to cause suffering. And eventually we'll all let go of it. Eventually we're all going to wake up.
If somebody's listening right now and they're in suffering, what are some steps they can take to relieve it or even see through the illusion? It's almost like when you're in it, you can't see through. It's like fish in water.
You know, when you're right in the middle of pain and suffering, physical and emotional pain, it's really challenging because you don't want to do anything. You don't want to meditate. You don't want to pray. You don't want to change anything. And I get that. You know, we've all been there and done that. But those are the things that drive us deep within to that bottom of the pit where we can surrender. I don't know what to do for myself. I really don't know what to do. And you can surrender, totally empty. You surrender to God within you and you open and you allow spirit through. Everybody at some point will get to that point. You can certainly seek somebody else out, you know, that's at a higher level of awakening to help you temporarily. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? Joel did it. I'll do it. You know, other people do it. We can help each other out in that way. But that's a temporary thing while we're learning to do it for ourselves, right? That's the ultimate goal, right? So, yeah, seek help out, you know, where you can, but allow the heart to open and surrender to the divine and just make that connection a few times a day. You don't have to do anything except connect. It's like asking the light to come into this room without plugging in the cord and flipping the switch. I don't care how well the laws of electricity are working or the room's wired for light. If we don't flip the switch, which is our intention or desire to connect with God, and we're not plugged in, no light's going to come into our consciousness. It's not going to flow through you. It's not possible. And all you're going to experience are shadows and darkness. It's a choice. It's a choice each one of us has to make. Do you want to keep suffering and experiencing the darkness, or do you want to embrace the light within you? It takes no effort. There's no effort on your part. It's just empty, surrendered, listening, allowing spirit to connect and pray through you. Right? Practice.
How do you protect your energy?
You don't have to. It's God's energy. It's God's energy. It's not mine. God doesn't need any protection. There's nothing but God. Why would you need to protect yourself when God's all there is? Once you have the realization.
I feel that sometimes when I shine brightly, when I'm really in my power, when I'm like really connected, it seems like other people don't enjoy watching that, or they will try to drag me into their suffering.
There will be some people that when they feel the light of God radiating from you, don't want to be around you because it makes them uncomfortable. And that happens to everybody. That's okay. That's their choice. But those that will be drawn to you, and even from many places in the world, will be many more than those that are repelled by it. Even Jesus walked away from many people that he didn't heal a single person in his hometown. They just saw him as a carpenter's son. And a lot of people, and he said, shake your foot, the dirt off your foot, and walk on. To those that want to receive the gifts of spirit. It's not for everybody. You have to be ready. Nobody can take away the light of God in you. Nobody can take that away from you because it's always flowing when you're connected. You don't have to protect yourself. You're automatically protected when you're connected.
Mm-hmm. So I hosted a meeting. I was like 20 women there, and I was just like hosting, I did voluntarily to help out. And at the end of that meeting, I felt so depleted. It's almost like I gave all of me, and I went home and I was just exhausted. And the next day I was so tired.
That's what used to happen to me when I hadn't learned to connect with spirit, and it was just working off my own energy. When it's your own energy and you're just doing that kind of thing, you'll be drained quickly because we have a very small amount of energy. But when it's the divine life force and the light flowing through you, there's no effort on your part. God's flowing through you. God's doing the healing. God's doing the praying. God's doing the meditation. You're not doing anything. You're just being a channel. It doesn't drain you one bit. I arrive home no different when I left in the morning because it's not my energy. I don't give any of my own energy. I don't know what the person needs. I don't know how to heal. Jesus would tell you the same thing. I myself can do nothing. It's the Father within. He's the one that does the works. So when you're feeling depleted and tired, that's a sign you're not connecting. You're trying to use your own, whatever, brain, mind, stuff instead of letting God do it through you.
That's a great point. It's almost like when you do Reiki and when you try to use your life force, you can get hurt.
Same thing.
But when you connect to God, so how can I connect to God in this type of situations? You really simplify. Is it so simple?
Whether you're doing Reiki or acupuncture or hands-on healing or massage or whatever technique you're doing, it's not the technique that heals the person. It's the conscious, the light of God flowing through you, through that needle, flowing through your hands, that's bringing the healing. You could put one needle literally anywhere in the body, and if that consciousness of God flowing through you, that person can get a healing. You could put 10 needles on them, and your consciousness isn't there, and they're not going to get a healing. You can massage the person, and if you're using your own life force, you're going to get tired, and they're going to get some temporary benefit. But if the light of God's flowing through you while you're doing it, then they're going to really get a treatment. That's the difference between two practitioners, one that's connected to God and the other's just using his intellectual knowledge. Totally different results. Totally different results.
Yeah, thank you for that. I guess just connect and ask for help.
Look, when you plug into the light switch, do you have to ask the light to do what to do or tell it what to do?
No.
No, it's going to come in the room. It goes everywhere. You don't think the light of God's doing that all the time to one that's connected? Of course it is. You don't need to know what to say or do or think. It'll put the words in your mouth. It'll heal through you. Jesus said it all the time. I can't do anything. I can't heal anyone. If he couldn't heal anyone, you can't. I can't. It's the Father within, Holy Spirit, the Christ, the light of God in you that's moving through you that's doing the healing.
It's interesting because when I do hypnosis or coaching sessions one-on-one, I always take that moment to connect and pray for God to flow through me. And it's almost like I'm a different person. Like words come out, things happen.
It's not that you're a different person. You are connected more to the divine within you, and that's your reality. And when you're not connecting, you're dependent on your training, your knowledge of this world, which is very limited.
Very limited. Very limited. So limited.
Right? They're going to get some benefit, but not nearly the benefit they're going to get when the wisdom of the universe is flowing through your lips.
Yeah, no, I totally get it.
But the light of God is radiating through your heart.
Yeah. And yeah, I really appreciate you sharing that because I never thought of doing it in group situations or that I need to do it in group situations.
Doesn't matter. Did it matter to Jesus when he did it with one person or 10,000 people? No, it doesn't matter. We're all one. The Christ, the Holy Child of God, is in every single one the same person. And the same thing when he multiplied the bread, he didn't do it. There's only, a few pieces of bread and he fed thousands of people because there's an infinite supply through God in us all the time that's flowing, and he just connected with that. And it multiplied the bread, and it multiplied the fishes, and it healed the multitudes, and it forgave the sinners. That's what does it. It's the Christ, the child of God in you. Stop trying to do it yourself. That doesn't work. It doesn't work. I know, I used to try that. It doesn't work. You're going to frustrate yourself, you're going to tire yourself, and the people are going to get limited responses.
So that's really amazing. Wow, I love that. Thank you for that reminder. It's such a beautiful thing to remind me of.
It's not, remember, meditation's not a mental thing or a mental knowing. It's an experiential thing where you're actually feeling like Jesus said, now the Spirit of God is upon me, and now I can go out, I'm ordained to heal the sick. Not until that moment did he do a single healing. The Spirit of God has got to be upon you. You've got to be connected. It's the Spirit of God flowing through you that brings the healing, not you. We know it's not about us. It's never about us. Not about me. I'm not the healer. Nobody is. There's nothing to be healed.
Yes. And after we connected, and there is still, I feel like even for us who are connected, there is still, we do live like in a physical body or having a...
You live in the illusion of being in a physical body. That's has nothing to do with your divine reality. You're not in the body. This world is inside of your consciousness, right? It's being projected from the ego mind. This whole world, like I said, is a dream, and none of it's actually there at all. Only what God created is actually there. Jesus said 1,000 times, the kingdom of God is right in the midst of you, and you see it not. You have ears and you don't hear, and you have eyes and you don't see, and lo, it's right in the midst of you. But you have to go within, into your closet, close your eyes, go within, and there, in silence, commune with your Father. You're not going to see it with your physical eyes, hear it with your physical ears. You're going to know it with your inner eyes, your inner vision. You're going to feel that peace of God, as you connect with it. You don't need to see lights and sounds and visions or anything special. You'll just feel peace come over you, the peace of God. Sometimes you might hear a word. I never have been meditating for. I've never heard anything. Never seen, it's not about having those mystical visions and all that kind of, forget that. Just connect and let the peace of God fill you and share it. God will use you. You don't need to know what to. He'll use you as a channel. He's using you in your show as a channel. Right? This is what this is all about. You're trying to get this out through your show, through the words you speak, right? Through your eyes, through your heart, through your thoughts. Everything that's coming through you, as it's imbued with God's consciousness, will, all those listeners that are listening to you, they're going to feel it.
I hope somebody's feeling something. If you're feeling something, please leave a review. Let us know. Email us. I want to know what you felt right now.
Those that are open will feel it.
I feel already like there is, like, since the beginning of the interview, there is some kind of a shift happening within me, myself, right now.
You're glowing. I mean, you feel it. You're so bright. You're so bright right now. You are. You can feel it.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you.
It's beautiful.
Oh, thank you. I'll take it. I know, illusion, and we are divine being, and yet I would like to ask you, what are some non-conventional advice that you can give around supplements or our way of life, or things that we might be beneficial for us to do for our health on a daily basis?
Well, we can speak of general things that are good for everybody, but when it gets down to each individual case, that's where you have to customize the supplements they take and fine-tune it to what's going on in their biochemistry and what's going on with them, right? Which is what we do through the muscle testing. But things in general that are good, obviously healthy diet, organic food, natural food, more of a plant-based diet, getting rid of the processed food, not overdoing things like excess meat and dairy and gluten and inflammatory food, doing exercise regularly, especially resistance exercise with weights to keep the muscle mass up, to teach our body to burn fat, which is its primary fuel, doing some fasting appropriately, like intermittent fasting, to teach our body again to burn fat, getting 7 hours of sleep, meditation, like I said, which is really important. So those are simple things everybody can do. The meditation, getting good sleep, making your diet better, doing some exercise, right? Those are all things that we do anyway, and most of them are free, besides buying the food, which we got to do anyway, right? Besides that, the extra things that we need, that would be on a case-by-case basis based on what we're seeing and the different tests, the muscle tests, the biochemical tests, energetic testing, those kind of things.
Thank you. What are your 3 top tips to living a stellar life?
Oh, you weren't listening. Number 1, connect with God. Meditate, let God pray for you. Number 2, same as number 1. Number 3, same as number 2 and number 1. Those are the 3 top tips. Those are the 3 top tips, right? The other things are the gravy. Get your 7 hours sleep. Take time to have fun and relax. Right? Make your system more parasympathetic, right? Which we give people exercise to do that. Eat a good diet. Do some exercise, right? But again, a lot of people say, oh, that's too much for me. I'm overwhelmed. Start by just making the connection with spirit, because if that'll change your whole life. Then there's no willpower involved. If you have an addiction, the addiction will start falling away naturally. If you're craving sugar, it'll start falling away naturally rather than trying to use willpower. Your diet will naturally change. You'll naturally be motivated to exercise. The other way around, it doesn't work so well. When you're trying to force yourself by willpower to change your diet or to exercise, that's really hard for a lot of people to do, right? That's why the connection first is really important. Put the horse in front of the cart, not backwards.
Yeah, it's because many times people focus on those things and they lose their connection because they're too busy doing everything else.
And then they get overwhelmed, and it takes them totally out of their connection. And they don't do it. They get rebellious. So number 1, 2, and 3, connect.
Yeah.
And then while you're connecting, start introducing gradually some of these other things as it feels right to you.
How do you see the future in your practice? Like, where do you see yourself going in the future?
Wherever God leads me, wherever He leads, whatever He wants me to do, whatever He wants me to learn, bring me the people, that truly want to heal. I don't know. I mean, if I look at my practice now and a year ago, it's like so totally different. I don't know what it'll be like next year. And I don't need to know because God knows. God's got the plan, right? God's got a perfect plan for each of us. And we don't know what's going to happen a second from now, much less a year from now. But as we stay connected in the holy instant or the eternal now, it'll just unfold. Just let it unfold. Don't worry about a year from now. Let it unfold each day by making your connection and let God's revelations unfold through you and bring to you what you and your clients need. Stop worrying about the future.
That's beautiful.
Or the past.
I love that.
or the past. They don't exist. Only the eternal now, the holy instant, right now exists. That's your point of power. We live in eternity. We don't live in time. Time's an illusion. We live in God in eternity. We're just asleep to that right now. So just connect through the now of what's going on and pay no attention to the past or the future because they have no power over you at all. Zero. We get lost by going into the past or the future. Just you'll be guided to what you need to do for the future from this point of view right now, right? But don't obsess about it, right?
Yeah, thank you for that. That's beautiful. So I'm very curious to see where you are in a year or 2 years and what's going to happen.
Me too. I'm curious to see where you're going to be.
Very exciting. Exciting new things.
We're all going to be having some very different revelatory experiences happening to us over the next few years. As the consciousness of the whole planet is awakening and shifting, we can all look forward to many transformative changes. And we either go along for the ride and open to it and awaken, or we resist it and we suffer. The suffering is no fun. We don't have to resist that which is our reality. It's frightful. The ego mind puts a lot of fear in us to look within, to connect, and to be willing to see and remember who we are. It's beautiful beyond description, but the ego doesn't want you going there, right? It says, turn away. You're going to be destroyed and sucked into God and disappear. No, that's not what happens. Your individual expression of God, your reality, will be revealed to you more and more. And it's like the wave in the ocean. The wave doesn't disappear. It's still, but it's one with the ocean, right? The sunbeam doesn't disappear. It's one with the sun. But the fullness of the ocean and the sun are in that sunbeam and that wave, right? Just as you are the fullness of God manifest, not the human being, the divine reality that we are. And so we can either polish our glass, be a glass transparency for that, or let more mud and illusion cake the glass. So all we see is a distorted image of who we really are. We want to polish the glass of it, meditate, pray, open, allow the divine light through, and keep the channel open. That's my parting words.
Amen, amen. Where can people find you or get involved with you?
So we're not taking new patients, obviously. Our practice is full because we've had way too many people want to come in. We may at some point later on. I do a healing service that's open to anybody once a month on the second Saturday of the month, right, which they can tune in through our Instagram, right? So they can go to my website, www.drhotchner.com. They can call the office, 305-856-8185. To get information about the healing service. But right now, it'll be more like, and every once in a while I'll do a seminar or a podcast like this. But obviously I see about 8 patients a day because we spend a lot of time with the patients. I can only see so many people in a week. And we have hundreds of people that want to come in and be seen. And as one person, can't see them all individually.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Hotchner. It was a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure, really. It's
Made me feel really good inside.
an experience for both of us. Hopefully for some of the listeners too.
Thank you. And thank you, listeners. Remember to connect to God, meditate, allow God's healing flow through you. Take care of yourself, take care of your body, take care of your heart, and have a stellar life.